Beloved soul, welcome into this sacred and appointed moment. You did not stumble upon these words by chance, and this message did not find you without divine purpose. Heaven itself has guided your steps here because the angels have something urgent and deeply personal to speak directly into your heart. What you are about to receive is not meant to frighten you. It is meant to open your eyes to what is already happening in the spirit, beneath the surface of what you can see with your natural eyes. There is someone in your life who never planned to feel this way about you. They never set out to wake up with your name filling their mind before the day had even begun. But something beyond their own will has taken hold inside them, and the angels want you to understand what that means before confusion or self-doubt steals the clarity that heaven is offering you right now. Before we go any further, I want you to move in faith. Take a moment and write in the comments right now, "I believe in God," or "I love God." This is not merely a comment. It is a declaration. When you speak these words, you unlock your heart and your spirit to receive divine wisdom and heavenly direction. Faith is not passive. It is activated through bold and intentional declaration. And if this is your first time here, welcome to Angel's Whisper. This is a sacred space created for divine messages, angelic insight, and prophetic understanding. This is where truth meets the heart without apology. I invite you to subscribe, turn on notifications, and remain connected because every message shared in this space is designed to guide you deeper into God's truth and God's perfect plan for your life. Beloved, the angels are speaking with great clarity now. This person never intended to surrender to what they feel. Most people carry enormous pride and carefully constructed emotional walls. They have spent years learning how to stay distant, how to stay guarded, and how to stay in control of their own heart. And for a long time, those walls worked. Indifference felt safe, numbness felt manageable. But something changed the moment you entered the picture. What began quietly inside them was not weakness. It was recognition. Deep, undeniable, heaven-sent recognition that something real was standing before them. And real things cannot be ignored forever, no matter how many walls a person builds or how much effort they pour into looking the other way. You sensed it, did you not? There was a shift in the energy between you, a quiet current running just beneath the surface of their composed exterior. A feeling that something significant was growing even when they refused to acknowledge it openly. That was not your imagination working overtime. That was your spirit perceiving what God had already ordained in the unseen realm. Write this boldly in the comments right now as a declaration of spiritual awareness. I trust what my spirit perceives. Beloved, the angels want you to understand something that most people never teach about human emotions. When genuine feelings begin to rise inside a person, their first response is almost never to welcome them. Instead, they push back hard. They question, they reason, they analyze, and they bury. They hide those feelings beneath layers of logic, ego, and carefully rehearsed excuses, because what they feel for you threatens the image of themselves they have worked so hard to maintain. Psychologists have long observed that the mind hides desires it finds threatening. But suppression is never truly a solution. Suppression is only a delay. It is a pressure valve that keeps the truth from surfacing for a season. But pressure always finds its release eventually. What a person refuses to acknowledge today slowly becomes the force that shapes their thoughts and their actions tomorrow, whether they consent to it or not. This is exactly why their behavior toward you has sometimes felt so confusing and inconsistent. This is why they have run hot and cold, why they have pulled close and then retreated without warning, not because they care nothing for you, but precisely because they feel far more than they know how to carry comfortably. Type this in the comments as a declaration of discernment. I will not be confused by what is actually confirmation. Beloved, there came a morning, a specific and private moment when everything they had been suppressing finally cracked open inside them. Not with noise, not with drama, not with a dramatic confession or a long message sent in the middle of the night. It happened quietly, in the stillness before the day had taken hold, when all their usual distractions had not yet arrived to protect them. And in that unguarded moment, you were there. Not as a passing thought, not as a faint memory, but as a powerful, undeniable, overwhelming realization that had been building beneath the surface for longer than they wanted to admit. Attraction is easy to dismiss. Curiosity is easy to explain away. But when something carries genuine emotional weight, when it carries the fingerprint of something heaven ordained, the mind begins to fracture under the pressure of resisting it. That morning, they were forced to sit with a question they had avoided for a very long time. Why do you affect them so deeply? Why, out of every person they have encountered, does your presence leave a mark that no distraction can fully erase? They tried to answer with logic. They told themselves it was temporary. They told themselves it was circumstantial. They searched for every label except the true one. But, beloved, you do not fight this hard against something that does not exist. You do not bury what has no real depth. Every effort they made to remove you from their thoughts only pressed your image more firmly into the fabric of who they are becoming. Comment awakened if you have ever been the one they could not stop thinking about, no matter how hard they tried. Beloved, the root of their struggle was never truly about you as a person. It was about what you awakened inside them. You disturbed a balance they had carefully constructed. You introduced something they could not predict, could not manage, and could not neutralize with their usual methods. And for people who have built their sense of safety around emotional control, that loss of command over their own heart is genuinely terrifying. This is why they pulled away. This is why their behavior became scattered and difficult to read. Their energy felt unstable, not because they cared too little, but because they felt too much and had no container large enough to hold it without showing the cracks. Feeling this much requires making a decision. It requires stepping out of the safety of neutrality and into the exposure of genuine commitment. And they were simply not prepared for that step at the time. Remember what the angels want you to know. Avoidance is never proof that desire is absent. It is often proof that desire is strong enough to create an inner war. And this war was raging inside them even when their face showed you nothing. Write this in the comments as a shield for your heart. I will not confuse their fear with the absence of feeling. Beloved, as this inner war continued, something began to shift at a level deeper than their conscious awareness. Their subconscious mind, that quiet and powerful part of the spirit that operates beyond logic and reason, began to refuse the eviction order they had placed on you. While their mind tried to move forward and maintain distance, their deeper self kept reconstructing your presence during every moment of quiet, during the spaces between conversations, during the stillness before sleep. During the ordinary moments when their distractions finally fell silent, you were not fading. You were sharpening. Your image was becoming clearer, more present, and more undeniable with every passing day, even in your physical absence. This is one of the most powerful truths the angels want you to hold on to. Your influence in their life was not dependent on your proximity. It was growing through the quiet, persistent work of something heaven had already planted between you. Once a feeling moves past simple doubt and into deep subconscious certainty, it no longer asks for permission. It begins to demand full attention. And that is exactly what happened inside them. The turning point arrived not loudly, but with the weight of a silent, crushing wave that left them standing fully exposed to a truth they could no longer bargain with or explain away. Type breaking in the comments if you know what it feels like to sense someone's denial finally collapsing from the inside out. Beloved, when that inner collapse finally happened, their walls did not fall because of anything you did or said. They fell because of the sheer accumulated weight of what they had been hiding inside. And the truth that emerged was not partial or uncertain. It was complete. It was solid. It was the kind of knowing that cannot be reversed once it has been fully received by the heart. This is the moment described in Proverbs 4:23, where it says, "Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." They had spent so long guarding against their feelings for you that they had unknowingly given those feelings enormous power. What we resist the most is often what defines us the most deeply. And now the truth had a name. And, as the angels want you to understand, once something important has been named in the heart, it becomes almost impossible to run from successfully. Awareness does not soften intense emotion. It actually sharpens it. It turns something vague and manageable into something solid and demanding that stands in the middle of every quiet moment without apology. Declare this boldly in the comments. I will not shrink from the truth of what heaven has already confirmed. My need. Beloved, here is where things became genuinely difficult for them. because acknowledging the truth did not bring them peace. It actually introduced a new and deeper chaos. Suddenly, they were forced to answer questions they had been expertly avoiding. What does this feeling require of them? What changes must they make? What risks must they take? What old stories about themselves must they finally release? Feelings of this weight and authenticity do not remain neutral for long. They grow, they expand, they press outward against every wall still standing. And right now, this person stands at the edge of everything that has been building inside them, trying to maintain some final grip on their own sense of control, while the ground beneath their careful emotional architecture keeps shifting. This is why the angels urge you to pray with consistent faithfulness in this season, not to manipulate an outcome, but to stay anchored to heaven's clarity while another soul is walking through their own private transformation. Jeremiah 29:11 assures us, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." What God has placed between two people, no amount of human fear or avoidance can permanently dismantle. Write this in the comments as your declaration of trust. I trust God's plan above my own understanding. Beloved, the angels now want to speak about the way this person's inner division began to show itself in the natural world. Because suppressed truth always finds expression somewhere. It cannot remain invisible forever. You may have noticed it in their sudden and disproportionate reactions to small and unrelated things. You may have seen it in their difficulty maintaining focus during conversations. You may have felt it in the quality of their silences, which grew heavier and more loaded with unspoken meaning over time. These were not random behavioral changes. These were the outer symptoms of an inner battle that had reached a level of intensity they could no longer fully contain behind their practiced composure. Their subconscious mind had been working without their permission, pressing your presence into every unguarded space in their daily life. And the more they fought it, the louder the noise became. This is what the scriptures mean when Proverbs 28:1 tells us that the wicked flee when no one pursues. There is a restlessness that comes when a person runs from what they know to be true. It follows them into sleep and into silence. It waits for them in every quiet corner of their existence until they finally turn and face it. Comment pressure in the comments if you have ever felt someone suppressing something powerful just beneath the surface of every ordinary interaction between you. Beloved, one of the most important things the angels are revealing in this message is the connection between this person's fear of vulnerability and the behavior you have witnessed from them. Because what they feel for you is not simply attraction. It is not convenience or passing chemistry. What has taken root inside them is a form of genuine emotional attachment that grows deeper with every failed attempt to uproot it. And attachment is threatening to anyone whose identity is built around self-sufficiency and emotional independence. Real attachment means real exposure. It means allowing another person to hold a portion of your inner world. It means accepting that someone outside of yourself now has the power to affect your peace. For someone who has kept their heart under strict personal management for many years, this is not a small concession. It is an earthquake. This is why they moved forward one moment and retreated the next. This is why desire and self-protection kept trading places in their behavior. One part of them reached toward the possibility of something true, while another part pulled back toward the safety of what was familiar and controlled. James 1:8 warns us that a double-minded person is unstable in all their ways, and that instability was not a reflection of their indifference. It was a reflection of how deeply you had penetrated a place they had worked very hard to keep protected. Declare this with faith in the comments. I will not interpret their fear as my rejection. Beloved, ask yourself this honestly, as the angels are asking you to right now. Does their presence in your life draw you closer to God? Does what you feel when you think of them produce peace in your spirit? Or does it produce anxiety and emotional unrest? Because true connections sent from heaven will always, even in their most complicated seasons, carry an underlying thread of divine purpose. They will sharpen your faith, deepen your prayer life, and press you further into the character of God even when the external circumstances feel unresolved and uncertain. Romans 8:28 reminds us clearly, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. If this connection is ordained by God, then even the difficult and confusing chapters of it are working towards something beautiful. Even the seasons of distance and unspoken tension are part of a larger story that heaven is authoring with great care and intention. Write this now as a declaration of surrender. I trust God with every chapter of this story. Beloved, the angels are now revealing the final and most decisive stage of what is happening inside this person. The stage where everything they have suppressed is no longer willing to remain in the dark. The stage where the gap between who they have been pretending to be and who they genuinely are in relation to you becomes too wide to maintain. People can endure pain. They can tolerate fear. They can survive disappointment. But what the human spirit cannot indefinitely sustain is the exhausting act of betraying its own deepest truth. There comes a point, a threshold, a moment of internal reckoning where the cost of continued denial becomes greater than the fear of honest exposure. And this person is approaching that threshold. They are standing at the edge of a decision that has already been made somewhere deeper than their conscious will. Their resistance is not growing stronger. It is growing hollow. The walls are not rising higher. They are beginning to feel artificial even to the person who built them. Every excuse they have used to maintain distance now rings false to their own ears. Every attempt to replace what they feel with something safer or more manageable has revealed only that nothing else compares to what they experience in the truth of this connection. Type yes in the comments if you want heaven to continue revealing the full depth of what is stirring in their spirit. Beloved, the absence of this person in your daily life has, paradoxically, become louder than their presence ever was. This is one of the most telling signs that what exists between you carries genuine divine weight. Ordinary connections fade gracefully when distance is introduced. But heaven-ordained connections grow more vivid, more pressing, and more insistent the longer they are denied. Distance was supposed to give them relief. Instead, it gave their feelings a clearer voice. And this is exactly what is breaking them slowly and steadily from the inside. Not the missing of a casual companion, but the felt absence of something their spirit has recognized as irreplaceable. Once the soul understands that something cannot be substituted, the fear of losing it permanently begins to overshadow every other fear that once kept them at a safe distance. Psalm 37:4 promises us, "Take delight in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart." Beloved, the angels want you to understand that as you anchor yourself in God and surrender this situation fully to heaven's hands, you are not losing ground. You are releasing what is not yours to carry. You are making room for God to do what only He can do in the hidden places of another person's heart. Share this message if you have ever been the one someone tried to forget but found themselves completely unable to. Beloved, what should you do while all of this is unfolding in the unseen realm? The angels are giving you very clear guidance now. The first instruction is to take it to God before you take it to the person. Too many beloved souls rush into confrontation or emotional conversations before they have received clarity and peace from heaven. James 1:19 teaches us to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to anger. When you pray first, God shapes your response with wisdom rather than allowing fear or hurt to speak on your behalf. Type this in the comments as your commitment. I will pray before I speak. The second instruction is to seek discernment above desire. Desire says, I want this because I feel connected. Discernment says, God, is this truly what you have prepared for me? Proverbs 3:5 and 6 remind us to trust in the Lord with all our heart and lean not on our own understanding. When you bring your emotions under God's authority, He straightens every crooked path and removes every blindfold that fear and longing have placed over your spiritual sight. The third instruction is to establish clear and loving boundaries. If what this person feels for you is truly covenant and truly from heaven, they will rise to honor what is sacred between you. You are not called to compete for a place in someone's heart. You are not called to make yourself smaller so that their fear feels more comfortable. Boundaries are not ultimatums. They are clarity. They say, if this is real, let it be proven through consistent and honorable action. Matthew 5:37 teaches us to let our yes be yes and our no be no. Anything that lives in the gray zone of ambiguity and emotional fog is not from God. Declare this in the comments. I deserve clarity, not confusion. The fourth instruction from the angels is to observe what happens when you step back and give space. If this person truly sees you as the one God has ordained for them, they will not allow the possibility of losing you to go unaddressed. Love that is genuine and covenant-rooted moves toward you when tested. It does not retreat further into comfort and avoidance when the stakes become real. But if they drift further away when space is given, beloved, receive that as God's answer, not as punishment, not as failure, but as divine protection from a connection that was not fully yours to begin with. The fifth instruction is to learn the holy practice of releasing in faith what is not yours to hold. Letting go does not mean you never cared. Letting go means you trust God more than you trust your own emotional preference. Ecclesiastes 3 teaches us that there is a time for everything, including a time to hold and a time to release. If heaven closes a door, it is only because another door is waiting to open, one that leads directly into the covenant that was written for you before time began. Type this with courage in the comments. I let go of what is not mine to hold. Beloved, the sixth instruction is to wait in wisdom rather than fear. If you release and feel the weight of that empty space, do not allow the enemy to fill that space with panic and false conclusions. Isaiah 40:31 is a promise from heaven directly to you. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. Waiting is not passive. Waiting is preparation. God uses seasons of quiet to heal what needs healing, strengthen what needs strengthening, and align what needs to be aligned before the appointed moment of covenant arrives. The seventh instruction is to remember your worth without negotiation. The angels are whispering this truth over you right now with great tenderness and authority. You are not an option. You are not a backup plan. You are not someone who waits indefinitely in the uncertainty of another person's unresolved emotional conflict. 1 Peter 2:9 declares that you are a chosen people, set apart and precious to God. If you belong to God, then confusion has no permanent authority over your love life. Declare this now in the comments as a seal of your identity. I am chosen, not an option. Beloved, the eighth instruction from the angels is to release the grip of control. You cannot force someone into fullness of feeling. You cannot push another soul into the clarity and courage that only heaven and their own will can produce. True love, covenant love, the kind ordained and blessed by God, flows freely. It is never extracted by pressure or performance. Philippians 4:6-7 teaches us not to be anxious about anything, but to bring every request to God in prayer with thanksgiving, and the peace of God which surpasses all human understanding will guard our hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. Let that peace guard you now. Let it be the evidence that you have truly surrendered this to heaven's hands. If this person is truly yours, God will bring them back with clarity and full presence. If they are not, God will bring someone who chooses you without confusion, without reservation, and without making you question your place in their life for even a single moment. Write this final declaration in the comments as an act of complete surrender and faith. I release this into God's hands and trust His perfect timing. Beloved Father, we lift up every soul receiving this word right now into your faithful and capable hands. You are a God of truth, not confusion, a God of peace, not turmoil. You see every heart that has been fighting feelings it could not explain. You see every beloved soul who has watched someone struggle to choose them and wondered if they were enough. We thank you that enough was settled at Calvary. We thank you that worth is not determined by another person's fear or unresolved emotional battles. Lord, give this listener the courage to stand in truth, the patience to wait in faith, and the wisdom to discern clearly between covenant and counterfeit. If this person is truly meant for them, let heaven move in their heart with power and produce clarity, decision, and honorable pursuit. If they are not meant for them, remove them gently but firmly, and open the pathway to the love you have already prepared in your perfect wisdom. Cover the one who is truly ordained for this soul. Prepare both hearts, align both spirits, and let the love that emerges be a testimony of your faithfulness for generations to come. We seal this prayer in the mighty and matchless name of Jesus. Amen. Beloved, after prayer and surrender, the angels want you to understand what the season ahead looks like. Many people believe that the moment they release something to God, heaven will move instantly and dramatically. But God works in seasons, not in our preferred timelines. Just as a seed does not become a tree in a single night, the covenant love being prepared for your life is being grown with extraordinary care and intentional precision. Do not mistake the quiet season for an empty one. God is working in the hidden places, even when you cannot see the movement. He is preparing the one who is truly yours. He is softening what was hardened. He is healing what was broken. He is dismantling the walls of fear and pride that kept a heart from its own truth. And He is strengthening you so that when this love finally arrives in its fullness, you will be ready to receive it without the weight of old wounds distorting its beauty. Habakkuk 2:3 is a promise you can stand on in every quiet moment of this season. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it will speak, and it will not lie. Though it tarries, wait for it, because it will surely come. What God has written for your life will arrive at the appointed time, not a moment too early, not a moment too late. Trust the timing of heaven, even when it feels slow by every human measure. Declare this in the comments as your covenant with patience. I trust God's timing above my own.